What's up, snappers? Welcome back to the channel. DDDREWSKY here. Today we're gonna be looking at the brand new card, the Ancient One, to see if she's worth your precious resources. We're gonna be looking at her key synergies, counters, and some decks that I brewed for her. But wait, before we do that, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I do weekly reviews of the brand new card in Marvel Snap, so if you don't want to miss out, hit that notification bell right now. And let's get back into it. Now the question is, who is the Ancient One? Let's take a look. So the Ancient One is a 3-cost 5-power card with the on-reveal ability of add Tao Mandala to your hand. And the ability of Tao Mandala is a 3-cost 0-power card. On reveal, copy the text of one of your ongoing cards here onto your other characters here. So the Ancient One has crazy ability, especially with the Tao Mandala, to repeat ongoing abilities. Ongoing abilities like Blue Marvel, Wong. There are some other nutty combinations that I will explain. But the potential is there if you can combo her out correctly and get that ball rolling of like repeating ongoing abilities. Again, it really depends on how you deck build. If you especially want to pair her up with cards that are on reveals, or cards that have static text, or cards that are just fodder, you can just replace their abilities with an ongoing ability in that lane. I think it's gonna be really good, and the combo potential is insane. Or just repeating an ongoing ability in that lane definitely win you that lane. Now let's take a look at the pros and cons of the Ancient One and the Tao Mandala. Let's take a look. So the first pro that I want to talk about, just like I mentioned, you can make some nutty plays with the Tao Mandala spell. So just imagine this ability is very similar to the Images of Icon spell from Agamotto. You're only basically repeating the ongoing abilities in that lane. It's not as flexible as the Images of Icon because it just repeats any card, but this card is just repeating the ongoing abilities for certain cards in that lane. So Tao Mandala allows you to repurpose on revealed no ability or bad ongoing cards. So you could take the gamble of playing a bad ongoing ability like Starbrand, for example, and then playing another good ongoing ability, and then roll the dice and see which ongoing ability gets replaced. And just imagine cards that you've already used their on reveal abilities. You can basically give them an ongoing ability, especially if you have a really good ongoing card in that lane. For example, like cards that you get from Savage Land or a Ninja, for example, from a different location. You can just replace their ability with an ongoing ability. So now let's talk about the cons. Big commitment with 6 energy. So in total, obviously the Ancient One is 3 costs, and then Tao Mandala is another 3 costs. So you have to make sure you commit to the ability. Unfortunately, I wish the spell like Tao Mandala was like maybe a 2 cost. So definitely would help with, you know, being able to be a little bit more flexible. But remember, maybe you have to add extra turns, and being able to pull off the Tao Mandala might be a little bit tricky. So another big con about her is that it potentially needs more energy or turns to utilize the spell. So if you're using her to repurpose a ability like Wong, for example, and if you want to follow it up with another card, then you will definitely need more energy or turns to utilize just as a setup. But if you're just using her to repeat an ongoing ability like Blue Marvel, obviously you don't need as many turns, but for combo potential, you definitely want more turns and more energy. And the last con that I want to talk about is that's predictable play to have. So many ongoings in a one lane. You definitely want to be careful of Enchantress, Cosmo, for example. There are ways to counter her, and I'll explain in the next slide. But yeah, definitely you have to be careful of being very predictable and having all those ongoing cards in one lane, definitely asking to get countered. Now let's take a look at the key synergies and counters for the Ancient One. So the first card that I want to talk about is Blue Marvel. Of course, repeating Blue Marvel's ability with the Ancient One, Tao Mandala, is going to be really good. Iron Man is another great target for Tao Mandala, repeating all those ongoing abilities from Iron Man. That lane is definitely yours. And then Wong is another great example of the ability of being able to repeat it and then maybe potentially comboing it with another card. Being able to have multiple Wongs in one lane is going to be really, really nutty. Now let's talk about the counters. Of course, Cosmo is a counter for the Ancient One and Tao Mandala just because they're both on reveal cards, so be careful of Cosmo. Enchantress is another great counter against this card because, again, you're going to be having tons of ongoing cards in that lane. Enchantress will definitely get rid of them. Gorgon is another great counter against this card because, again, spells are added to your hand as a created card, right? So it will raise the cost of the Tao Mandala spell. Now let's take a look at the decks that I brewed for the Ancient One. I think they're pretty fun and competitive. Let's take a look. So the first deck that we have is called the Ancient Zoo. I believe that the Ancient One will work well with Zoo. So the way that you want to utilize the Ancient One in this list is to replace the abilities of cards like the Squirrels or the 1-cost cards from Shana, and then repeat the abilities of potentially Blue Marvel, Khazar, or even Patriot. Ant-Man is just a must-have in the Zoo archetype, especially when you're filling a lot of lanes. Ant-Man, tremendous value. Squirrel Girl, just like I mentioned, with having the squirrels there is good for just Zoo in general. The squirrels will provide value in just getting power, and you can replace their abilities with the Ancient One. Dazzler is just a must-have in Zoo, filling all those lanes, getting a lot of power for Dazzler. Hawkeye K Bishop is more for her arrows. You definitely don't want to get the Toxic Arrow, but it doesn't really hurt. But having the other arrows or another 1-cost cards for Zoo. Marvel Boy is just tremendous value in Zoo, especially juicing up all those 1-cost cards. That +1 power for every turn is really good. Patriot with that +2 power is so good in Zoo, especially all those cards that have no abilities like the Squirrels. Shana just gives us enough cards to fill up the board, and just like I mentioned, those 1-cost cards that you don't care for their ability, you're going to replace them with the Ancient One. Khazar is really good in this list, especially with all the 1-cost cards getting that +1 power, very valuable. Blue Marvel is just a must-have in Zoo, especially with that +1, even enabling cards like Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is our power card in this list, especially when you power up all your cards here. Most of the cards here should be affected by a +1 power or even +2 power. And then Gilgamesh gets a tremendous amount of heights. Mockingbird is another power card in this list, especially being discounted by cards from Shana or the Squirrels. You could more than likely get Mockingbird very cheap. Now let's take a look at my second list. Now this list is called the Ongoing Ancient One. I believe the Ancient One will work well in this list. Repeating any of the ongoing cards in this list should be pretty good. So the cards that you want to aim to repeat their ongoing abilities are Ant-Man, Mystique, Mr. Fantastic, Captain Carter, Captain America, Moonstone, and even Iron Man. I know that this list is running ongoing cards, and you can potentially replace those ongoing abilities with the other ongoing ability. So you definitely have to be careful on how you decide to stack a certain lane. But more than likely, if anything, repeating their ongoing ability in that lane is going to be good anyways. Ant-Man is here for that +4 power. If you can fill up a lane, Ant-Man gets a lot of value. Ravonna is good in this list to discount cards like Mystique, Mr. Fantastic, and Iron Man. Sam Wilson, Captain America is great, especially being an ongoing card, and the Shield is an ongoing card as well. And you use Tao Mandala to replace the ability of the Shield potentially. Mystique is really good in this list to copy abilities like Mr. Fantastic, Captain Carter, or even Moonstone. But we already know that Mystique is really good to copy Iron Man's effect. Mr. Fantastic, of course, being played in the middle, definitely tremendous value. Captain Carter is really good in this list, especially when you know how you're going to be stacking certain lanes. You could even use Tao Mandala to repeat her ability as well. Captain America is just a must-have with Sam Wilson. Captain America's shield, you start generating power with the shield, is really good. Cosmo is our tech counter card in this list, so use it wisely. Moonstone is here to repeat the abilities of Ravonna, Mystique, Mr. Fantastic, Captain Carter, or even Captain America. Iron Man's one of the best targets to use with Tao Mandala. If you can repeat Iron Man's effect, that lane is definitely yours. Spectrum is our finisher here, especially with all the ongoing cards here. Other than the Ancient One, that +2 power is really good. Now let's take a look at my third and final list. This list is called the Ancient Reveal. I believe that the Ancient One will work well in this list, especially being able to repeat the ongoing ability of Wong. This is definitely more of a fun type list. If you want to generate a lot of power vertically, definitely use this type of list. Echo is here to protect our Wong lane, of course, against Cosmo. Echo is definitely just for Cosmo. Medusa, definitely play her in the middle lane. That +3 power is really good for her ability. Armor is really here for our big lanes to protect that power, so definitely run armor if you know you're going to be going really tall in a certain lane. Jeff is here for the flexibility of being able to move him later after you juice him up in power. Ironheart is just to power up cards in this list, especially if you pair her up with Wong, definitely tremendous value. Red Guardian is just a great tech card in this meta right now, so use them wisely. The Ancient One is really here to get another Wong, essentially. It really depends on how you want to set it up, but you could use potentially Medusa, Jeff, or even Echo, and replace their abilities with Wong. Shang-Chi is for those power lanes, so definitely use Shang-Chi to destroy your other opponent's cards. White Tiger is really here just for Wong. Play the White Tiger on Wong and get those tigers out on the board. Nomura is very situational. If you can set up your lanes to have one card per lane, then Nomura on the Wong lane is going to be really, really good. Odin is here just to have an explosive finish, especially on the Wong lane. Definitely run Odin on the Wong lane or any of the on reveals that you want to repeat. Now let's take a look at the snapbacks that are featured with the Ancient One. So the Ancient One is with Esme Cuckoo, Morgan Le Fay, Nightmare, and Dormammu. Esme Cuckoo, Morgan Le Fay are already out, and then the Ancient One June 10th, Nightmare June 17th, and Dormammu June 24th. So like I mentioned in the past with Esme Cuckoo, it really depends if you like that type of flavor of card. That ability I don't really think is a must-have, so it really depends if you want to skip or not. But again, you have the potential of getting Esme Cuckoo. Morgan Le Fay, after testing her throughout the week, she's been okay. I don't see her being actually a must-have. Definitely wait and see if she is becoming a meta card, but at the moment, I don't think she's a must-have, but she's definitely a fun card. And then we have Nightmare and Dormammu that I will review later in the future. Remember guys, that you have the potential of pulling older cards like Surge, Prodigy, Elixir, and Zorn, and make sure to have 5k tokens to buy the seasonal Series 5 pack. Now let's take a look at the community predictions for the Ancient One. So the community has said S tier 10%, A tier 36%, B tier 47%, and C tier 7%. So overall, the community believes that the Ancient One is a B tier card. And here is a community review about the Ancient One. Thank you again, Undead Eggmeister. They said A tier card. I think she has insane potential, but I also think she has a lot of conditions to meet. One, you need an ongoing card, and then you need other cards, most likely low level ones. Luckily, ongoing has a lot of great cards for all, having a location with 3 cards with Ant-Man's ability. I wouldn't be surprised if her best home is in Zoo decks. So I agree with this statement 100%, especially with all the conditions you do have to meet. There are a little bit of pitfalls of making sure the card works in some manner, and being able to replace those like squirrels, for example, with the ongoing ability, I think is gonna be really good. So thank you again for your comments. And remember guys, if you want to be featured in the next video, make sure to follow my community posts about the brand new card in Marvel Snap. And thank you guys again for your valuable feedback. Now let's take a look at my star ratings for the Ancient One. So for competitive, I gave her a 3.5 stars. I believe that the potential of her being able to work could work, but again, stars definitely have to align, or the situation has to be where you have to have, you know, cards in that lane that you're okay replacing her abilities with. So I'm a little bit reserved on being able to have that ability or the spell to be consistent in a way. So 3.5 stars, I would say is fair for her. For fun, I say 4.5 stars. Of course, being able to repeat ongoing abilities in that lane, getting that lane to a massive amount of power, or getting that ongoing ability to flood all the other lanes, I think is gonna be massively fun in Marvel Snap. For flexibility, I gave her a 3.5 stars. You saw that decks that I brewed, they're pretty different, right? And it really depends on how many ongoing cards that you want to surround her with. In a way, she is a little bit flexible, but the ability of her Tao Mandala is a little bit niche. So overall, flexibility of decks, yes, is great, but the spell is definitely very niche. For future changes, I gave her a 2.5 stars. I believe that the card's fairly balanced. There are a lot of conditions you do have to meet. I don't see this card really being buffed. So if anything, it would get nerfed. But other than that, I don't really see a lot of changes with this card. Now let's take a look at my final review of the Ancient One. Is she worth the snapper skip? Let's take a look. So for series 1 to 2 owners, 2 stars. You're gonna be missing a lot of cards that work well with the Ancient One that will excel them or push them to greater heights. Series 3 owners, 3 stars. I believe the conditions very similar in a way. 4 and 5 definitely push her to be a lot better. For series 4 and 5 owners, you're gonna be having most of the cards that work well with her, but it really depends on the deck design and how many ongoing cards you want to utilize her ability. The archetypes that work well with her are Zoo, ongoing, and on reveal. And with that being said, I would say the Ancient One is a snap, but a huge asterisk. I would say it is a very combo heavy card. If you like repeating ongoing abilities, sure, she's definitely your pick. And again, it's going to be very situational of a card because, again, like we mentioned, you have to have fodder or you have to have cards that are okay replacing her abilities with ongoing to make, you know, this card work. So again, it really depends on how much fun you want to have in Marvel Snap. I would say this card is definitely not on the competitive side. It's more definitely on the, if you like the Wong or the fun type of decks, then definitely go pick up this card. I believe the ceiling of this card is very high, so that's why I recommend it. But again, if you like more competitive cards, then definitely skip this card. Again, it's very susceptible to a lot of counters too. So again, be careful of having fun and hopefully you don't get countered. So what are your thoughts on the Ancient One? Am I completely wrong? Did I miss any decks? Did I miss any synergies that work well with her? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video useful, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. I would love for you to be a part of this amazing community here on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next Snapper Skip. Happy snapping.